It's just
You on there? You live now? You on there?
who sacrifice for our freedom. Meaning, every time something happens, I hear this. Why don't the gang bangers jump up and do something for us? Why don't you kill them? You kill each other. And I say to myself, when is the last time you sent money to Asada Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Matulu Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Mumia Abu Jamal or Larry Hoover or Jeff Ford or Leonard Peltier? When is the last time you have made it your business to send money to a revolutionary or a hoodlum that has helped us? And until we start to do that, how can we ask these young men to be warriors? Because if they do it in the name of the hood, at least the hood gonna honor their name always. At least the hood gonna make sure at least their children got something or their mama's house is looked after. As a community, if we're going to ask people to bungee jump for us with no cord, be prepared to take care of them when they get a life sentence. Be prepared to look after their families. See, I don't mind the work getting done, but let's take care of the workers. Let's stop asking more out of people than we would do for ourselves. So what I'd like to see, my dream thing is to see 1 million people from the culture dedicate $10 a month. That's $10 million a month, $120 million a year toward taking care of civil rights leaders who have worked on our behalf and are elderly now and don't have to take care of themselves, like Rosa Parks, whose rent was paid by the owner of Little Caesars Pizza. We should have had a fund to make sure that she never had to worry about that again in her life. We should have a fund that makes sure money makes it to Asada Shakur, and Matulu Shakur has legal representation and food, and Leonard Peltier, who has diabetes in jail, can get insulin and taken care of. And until we start doing it, $10 a month is about what you pay on a couple fast food restaurant visits. So if 1 million of us do that for the rest of our life, look at how well we'll be taking care of the people that we're asking to sacrifice on our behalf.
I agree. And recently.
Greetings, viewers, and welcome first-time viewers. My name is Frank Brown, and I'm with my brother
Abdul Haqq Islam.
Welcome to the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition podcast. Today's episode, we are focused on our good brother, elder, and political prisoner, Ruchell Magee. We want to bring this brother home. He goes to the board tomorrow. So if you look on the screen, we have the contact information where you can go so you can participate in aiding him to get released. I think it's very important that we observe what's happening right now regarding this brother having the opportunity to come home. As the line of the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition is, straight and to the point, we don't let political prisoners die in prison. We don't want that blood on our hands. Sundiata Akoli wrote me back, and he agreed, and he applauded with what we're doing, and he was very grateful. So with that recognition, I feel that I had to share that with the viewers, and I had to share that with people of Queensbridge when we're out in Queensbridge with Transform America, who gives out free vegan food while we give out free masks in the spirit of political prisoners. I have to share that message so that the community understands that our political prisoners are listening and they want to come home. But the only way they're going to come home is by us fighting for their release. So tomorrow, he goes to the board. So we have to act now. If you go to actionnetwork.org, they have online petitions. In a few minutes, we're going to provide you with the address. If you choose to write the Board of Parole, because all actions on this matter are good regarding his release. We're talking about social media. We're talking about writing. And, you know, you can start off with your family. Tell your family how long this brother's been incarcerated and what he was part of. And let them understand that, as Killer Mike said, that we always calling for people to do the work. But what happens when people who do the work get incarcerated, get captured? What's our response? What do we act? How do we act, rather? So that's why we had this episode today specifically targeted on this brother, because this brother needs to come home. Abdul Haqq, your words?
Yeah, peace and love, brothers and sisters. You know, we have a rich history of revolutionary struggle here on the East Coast. Ruchell from the West Coast. They also have a very, very proud history of struggle. You know, strong. You know, you get a chance, read the book Soledad Brothers. You know, to really get the essence of this brother's world. You know, Ruchell Magee is the longest held political prisoner in the world. He been in prison 58 years. You know, can you imagine? Don't even try to want to even know what it feel like to be in a penitentiary 58 years. You know, this brother needs to come home. Like Frank says, he goes to the parole board tomorrow, but it's not too late to write the parole board, because the decision is not made in the room while they talk to the prisoner. The parole board takes a week or a couple of weeks, you know, to discuss things. So your letters will still get there, you know, and indeed, letters can be effective because Marilyn Buck got many letters written to the parole board in her behalf, and she was paroled, and you know, she passed away shortly after that. But like I say, you know, we need to imbibe that revolutionary spirit that existed on the West Coast. Ruchell Magee, George Jackson, and others, you know. So I'm going to read a little information around Ruchell Magee. I'm going to put on my glasses so I can look like an intellectual, you know. All right?
Whatever it takes, brother.
Whatever it takes, all right? This is something put together by the Prisoner Solidarity Committee, all right? Ruchell Sinkay Magee. Sinkay was the name of the slave who led the rebellion on the Amistad slave ship and freed all the slaves on that ship. That's what Ruchell Sinkay Magee got his name from. All right. Personal background: Ruchell is the longest held political prisoner in the U.S. Like I said, the longest held political prisoner in the world. Having been locked up since 1963, politicized in prison, he later participated in the Marion County Courthouse Rebellion. The attempted liberation of political prisoner George Jackson, Ruchell Magee, Ruchell Magee pled guilty to the charge of aggravated kidnapping for his part in the assault. In return for his plea, the Attorney General asked the court to dismiss the charge of murder, Magee being the shooter of the Judge Haley. Magee later attempted unsuccessfully to withdraw the plea and was sentenced in 1975 to life in prison. He has lost numerous bids for parole. He has also worked tirelessly as a jailhouse lawyer, working on his own and helping many other prisoners win their freedom. You know, that's the essence of this brother. You know, even though being in jail all these years, he's worked tirelessly helping other people to be free. And like I said earlier in this information piece, that he became politicized in prison.
Right.
And I've seen people go into prison, become politicized, have their life changed by being around brothers. For example, Jalil Noah Washington, who had classes on purification of the soul. You understand? In other political prisons I've seen, Matulu Shakur, men coming from this life of crime in the street, becoming politicized and life changed by these political prisoners in the penitentiary. So they need to be free. They need to be out on the street. Continuing. He had been in LA for 6 months when he and his cousin Leroy got in a fight over a $10 bag of marijuana. In court, the two ended up with trumped-up charges of kidnapping and robbery, and he was given life in prison. While in prison, Ruchell began learning the long and rich history of Black liberation history. He adopted the middle name of Sinkay after the enslaved African who led the takeover of the slave ship Amistad, which eventually led to the freedom of all the slaves on board. He began petitioning his unjust sentence to no avail. Although critically wounded on August 7, 1970, Magee was the sole survivor among the 4 brave Black men who conducted the courthouse slave rebellion, leaving him to be charged with everything they could throw at him. On the Marion courthouse incident. All right, gentlemen, hold it right there. We're taking over. That's what Johnson Jackson said as he came into the courtroom. Armed to the teeth, Johnson Jackson, 17, George Jackson, younger brother, raided the Marion courthouse and tossed guns to the prisoners, William Christmas and James McLean, who in turn invited Ruchell to join them. Johnson Jackson, 17. I want to say, to you young brothers out there, you young guys who use this term soldier, if you ain't up to the standard of Johnson Jackson, don't use that term no more. This is a brother who stood up against the system. Cats out here shooting one another, killing people, hating their own race, shooting people who look just like them, whose ancestors came chained up together on the same slave ship. You understand what I'm saying? Don't use that term soldier if you can measure up to Johnson Jackson, known as the man child. That's what his brother George Jackson called him, the man child. You understand? So, y'all need to read this history and learn who this brother was, the essence of this revolutionary spirit that burned in Johnson Jackson, this young 17-year-old brother. You understand? While young cats in the street right now are giving false legitimacy to the cops that run around killing one another, while a former political prisoner like Jalil Muttaqeen now is calling for to defund the police, and saying that our culture, through our culture, that we can take care of ourselves. We don't need these white supremacists babysitting us, that we can do this all on our own. Our culture was such that in Africa, there's places in Africa where you can go in a village and put your wallet on the ground with $2,000 in it, come back 4 years later, your wallet will be in the same place on that ground, you understand, untouched. That's our culture. Our culture is not Satan's toilet stool. That's what America is. America is the devil's toilet stool. You understand? And that's how, this is why we got to purge ourselves, of this culture. Our culture, the culture of Africa, is placed in Africa where no such thing as an armed robbery. So this is what we're calling ourselves. We're calling our people to, and we're saying defund the police, that we can take care of ourselves. You understand? That we can ensure the safety of our own community through the power of our culture. All right? All right, continuing. We'll turn to invite Ruchell to join them. Rue seized the hour spontaneously as they attempted to escape by taking a judge, assistant attorney, and 3 jurors as hostage in the audacious move to expose to the public the brutality, racist prison conditions and free Soledad brothers, John Clutchy, Fletcher Drumgo, and George Jackson. McLean was on trial for assaulting a guard in the wake of black prisoner Fred Billingsley's murder by prison officials in San Quentin on February 1970. So you see, they murder us and get away scot-free, again and again and again. One of the main people that's calling for our political prisoner to stay in jail forever is Pat Lynch, leader of the PBA, who Jalil calls the lynch mob. Again and again and again, police have murdered our people in the streets, and Pat Lynch has worked to get these killer cops free. You understand? So here's another case that happened in the penitentiary, what I just mentioned. McLean was on trial for assaulting a guard in the wake of black prisoner Fred Billingsley's murder by prison officials in San Quentin in February 1970. With only 4 months before a parole hearing, Magee has appeared in the courtroom to testify for McLean. The 4 revolutionaries successfully commandeered the group in a waiting van and were about to pull out of the parking lot when Marin County Police and San Quentin guards opened fire. When the shooting stopped, Judge Harold Haley, Jackson, Christmas, and McLean were dead. Magee was unconscious and seriously wounded, and as was the prosecutor. A juror suffered a minor injury. In a chain of events leading to August 7th, on January 13, 1970, a month before the Billingsley slaughter, a tower guard in Soledad prison had shot and killed 3 black captives on the yard, leaving them unattended to bleed to death. Cleveland Edwards, Sweet Jugs Miller, and the vulnerable revolutionary leader W.L. Nolan, an active resident of the Black Liberation Movement behind the walls. Others included George Jackson, Jeffrey Gardine, Katari, Hugo L.A. Purnell, Yogi Bear, Steve Simmons, Komasi, Howard Toll, and the late Warren Wells. After the common verdict of justified homicide was returned and the killer guard exonerated at Soledad, see, like I said, the cops, the prison guards, they murdered these prisoners, and the judge let them go scot-free. And what one of Ruchell Magee's comments is that these judges are criminals themselves. For example, Judge Taney, who said that in the Dred Scott decision that a white man does not have to respect any rights of a black man. You understand? Now, where he came to this scientific evidence of that was that throughout history, white supremacists believed that black people was inferior. So that was his so-called scientific evidence, you understand, that a black man has no rights that a white man has to respect. Okay? Right. So like I said, he said that this is another example of a judge being a criminal. After the common verdict of justified homicide was returned and the killer guard exonerated at Soledad, another white racist guard was beaten and thrown from a tier to his death. 3 prisoners, Fletcher Drumgo, John Clutchy, and Jackson were charged with the murder, precipitating the case of the Soledad brothers and the campaign to free them, led by college professor and avowed communists Angela Davis and Jonathan Jackson. Okay, so like I said, y'all, brothers and sisters out there, if you want to if you want to be elevated, like Sly Stone said, want to take you higher, read Solid Dad Brother by Jonathan Jackson. Read Blood in My Eye by Jonathan Jackson. When I was in the penitentiary, I read these books and I said it set my blood on fire. You understand? It filled me with revolutionary pride and glory. You understand? This is the type of uplifting that we need in our community. You understand? And this was the environment of Ruchell Magee, a brother been down 58 years and need to be free. Write the parole board. The information is coming up of the phone numbers to call. You understand? He'll soon be 81 years old and needs to be free to enjoy some of his life as a free man. Black Power.
Black Power. Yes, that was very, very fiery as always, and right to the point. You always want to give people ideas to think about because these ideas get us to the point where we're at. Our political prisoners, prior to their incarceration, they were involved in organizing our community to make the conditions better for our people, right? They understand that the system is not going to correct itself, that in fact, that the system is flawed, and therefore we need a entire correction of the system. And I think that when we think about our real heroes, our heroes behind bars, we have to ask ourselves, what does it mean to not let a political prisoner die in prison? Do we write a political prisoner? Do we go on social media and share information on political prisoners? What does that mean? In one of our previous discussions, we talked about that the United States claims that there are no political prisoners, that these people are criminals or terrorists. Now, you can make one or of two decisions, right? You can either unite with that decision and do nothing, or you can say that that's not correct, and I'm going to do something about that. I'm going to make what they've done wrong right, and how I make that right is by taking action. You take action by sharing the petition, signing the petition. When you go to actionnetwork.org, you see actually there's a letter. You put your name. I put my name on the letter. I mailed my letter today. I signed the online petition. So I made sure that prior to me coming on this show, I was going to make sure that I did what I wanted other people to do. People who are part of a church in particular. If you go to one church, that's 100 people. Imagine going to 5 churches. That's 500 people. 10 churches, that's 1,000 people. Just imagine we have those type of numbers. We're going to get this brother home. And that's just talking about the church. What about the masjid? Or you Muslims, get involved. Free our political prisoners. This political prisoner is going to the board tomorrow. So we calling for everybody who listening, please share, please like. Make sure that you do your part. Make sure that you don't ignore what's being said, because we laid everything out. We provided you with the climate that the brother was in at that particular time, the actions that were taken because of the injustice that was going on. And his brother served decades in prison. He's over 80. And we look at our life, how long do we live? Not many of us live to be in our late 80s, early 90s. Mm-hmm. Very few people live to be 100. So how much years he have if we want to be real? Mm-hmm. So we got to bring this brother home. We can't let him die in prison. And if you're a part of some progressive organization, get involved. Write the parole board. Go online, sign a petition. Do your part. Share it with 10 people. That's what we say. Share this episode with 10 people and ask those 10 people to share. Go on our YouTube channel and subscribe. We need to get more subscriptions. We need to get the idea out to a broader audience about political prisoners. This is the only podcast that is dedicated to the political prisoner, because we say that all those other issues matter, but the political prisoners, being that they sacrifice so much, they need time to just focus on them. They need time for us to address them. They need time for people to pay attention to them, because we ask people to make sacrifices, but nobody made more sacrifices than the political prisoner. So we say we got to bring them home, and we got to bring them home now, because time is running out. So that's about all I have on my plate. I can't think of anything else. We laid out everything. Abdul Haq, you got any close? Matter of fact, you know what? Before we leave, address the Islamic community on this one about signing this petition and writing a parole board.
Yeah, well, I would say to the Islamic community, the Muslims and other religious people, we're about justice, right? We're about standing up, and Islam demands that we stand up against corruption, oppression, and injustice. And we live in a very, very unjust system. Everything that this empire has obtained is obtained through murder. You understand? Terror. You understand? Criminality, theft. You understand? So being religious, means that we oppose these things, and that if we love people, we love humanity, we love the Creator, we would love to act on these things. So freeing our political prisoners, freeing those who stood up, with the highest principles against these evils, is something that people who believe in God should be involved in. So as closing remarks, I want to say that in terms of two very, very burning issues right now, should point us to the need for brothers like Ruchell to be free. That this type of revolutionary spirit, this type of strength, needs to run through the blood and veins of our community, needs to energize our community. Right now, we're in a very, very serious crisis of gun violence. In a period, it seems like the response to those who have very little consciousness, who are filled with this with this American culture. They respond to the police killing. In 2020, more police killing than any other time during that decade. More police killing than any other time. They will respond to that by murdering one another. So we're in a very, very serious crisis, and our political prisoners can be a part of a cadre of master teachers, who can definitely solve this thing. You understand? The enemy wants us to think that we're hopeless and helpless, and we ain't nothing we can do about our condition. But revolutionaries have tall self-confidence. When you're around some revolutionaries, that's one thing that will rub off in you, is that self-confidence, that confidence to make you know that you can get things done. You understand? Another great crisis that we're going through right now is healthcare. The healthcare system in America is a weapon of mass destruction. It's built upon money. It's about cash. And when people don't have the cash to pay, you understand, hundreds of thousands of people die needlessly. Early death. Look at the movie Sicko by Michael Moores. You understand? It explains to you how the insurance companies operate. Those who do not have the money to pay, the insurance company deny them care. And so hundreds of thousands of people are dying. So we need, the strength of these revolutionaries out there, to be free to demand, a real healthcare system for us. Through hundreds and thousands of people, standing up and demanding our rights, this can happen. And with revolutionaries among us, that strength will infuse the people. Will give the people the strength, the courage, the backbone to stand up and demand our rights. Black power.
Black power. So there you have it. You've been given the information, the contact information. You could contact us at the contact below on our website. Also subscribe to Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition Facebook page. Also, Political Prisoner Work. Subscribe to that community page. And if you happen to live in Queensbridge, subscribe to Queensbridge for Political Prisoners. If you happen to be in Queensbridge, check us out. You'll see us on the corner of 40th and 12th Street. Have a one-on-one conversation with us, because we just don't sit behind a computer and like and share. We get out in the street, we talk to the people, we talk to the community. What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.